So for today's session, we're going to be working on your birthing balls. So these are really useful to have earlier in pregnancy for working out on. It also makes a really good chair as an option instead of your sofa for later on, or office chairs, but these can be used in the early stages of labour as well when your contractions start. And we'll look at some of the positions that we use. If you haven't got a birthing ball, you can access them online, but there's also a discount code to where you can buy a birthing ball that's in the link below. So where I tend to work, I make sure that I've got a mat underneath me, so I've got something that's sticky. I've got sticky socks on as well, just for a little bit of grip. So I'm going to come on to sitting on the ball. So I've got my feet on my mat, so I'm not going to travel off in a different direction. And the amount of air that you want in your ball, you want to feel like your hips are slightly higher than you need. You don't want to be too high and feeling like you're holding yourself, but you don't want to be too far the other way. So to start, we're just going to come into a resting position, centering ourselves as you would in standing. And I just want you to bring your focus into your pelvis. And if you imagine if you had lasers coming off your sit bones, are they travelling straight through the ball, or are they maybe travelling out the back or forwards? So why I ask that can dictate what position your pelvis is in. So if you feel like they're travelling out the back of the ball, that might be that the pelvis then is tilting too far forwards. Or if you feel that they're coming through the front of the ball, we might be a little bit slumped. So finding that heaviness down through the tailbone, like we've got that invisible weight through the tailbone, the lasers are travelling down through the ball, I'm now nice and neutral through that pelvis. So with that softness down through the tailbone, I'm just finding that length up through the back of the neck, right the way to the base of the skull, and that's my resting neutral position, a little bit like we would do in our mountain pose in standing. So just take a moment to have a little feel and see if you can find that position. You might just need to have a little rock side to side and forwards and back, and then rest in that neutral position. From here now, either hands on the thighs, or if you want to connect one hand to chest and one hand to baby, whichever is comfortable for you. The feet can be a little wider than hip width just for some extra support. Feel free now to close the eyes, and we're just going to bring our attention into the practice, starting with our breathing in through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. Just feel as you inhale, you're growing taller through the spine, drawing energy up and into the body, and as you exhale, any tension is just releasing and softening away. You should feel the belly is rising as you inhale and softening gently on that exhale. And just take a moment to scan through the body, head to toe. How are you feeling? Are you maybe holding any tension anywhere? Or any discomfort? And just let that soften. If an area of the body is feeling nice and relaxed, how does that feel? See if you can spread that feeling to some of those areas in the body that maybe aren't feeling as relaxed and comfortable. In through the nose and slowly out through the mouth. And we're just going to start to bring our pelvic floor into this as well now. So the ball's quite nice to feel the feedback underneath that lower pelvic area. So as we breathe in, we're relaxed. As we breathe out, I'm feeling like I'm zipping up from the back of the tailbone through to the front of the pubic bone, and then releasing on that inhale. So it's that feeling of that zipping up as I exhale in that smiling position, and then exhale, unraveling. Good. Inhale, zipping up. Exhale, unzip. Using that smile, that hammock line. Good. 2 more. Inhale, relax. Exhale, zip. 1 more here. Exhale, zipping up. We're going to change that breathing rhythm now. So we're almost going to take our smile upside down. So we're still focusing on that space from the tailbone and the pubic bone together in that pelvic floor area. We're not bearing down, but I want us to feel like we're stretching into that pelvic floor. So this time as I breathe in, I'm feeling like I'm widening that zip from the space from that tailbone to the pubic bone. And then exhale, just letting that relax. So the air is staying low in the belly. Inhale, feeling that space widening, and then exhale, releasing. Yeah, so the pelvic floor is fully relaxed. And it's feeling that difference from when we are activating and when we're releasing. 2 more here. Last one. Good. And then bringing the hands down to the thighs, palms facing down. I'm just going to take some little spinal twists. So I'm just rotating by reaching forwards on the thigh. And what's different when we're on the sit bones, on the balls, sorry, our sit bones are giving us some slightly different feedback. So as you reach from one side to the other now, make sure that the rib cage isn't popping upwards. But what I want you to think about is that you're trying to keep the pressure even on both sides of that sit bone. So you shouldn't feel like you're rocking or pressing into the ball. The lasers are staying pointing down into the ball. So I'm staying connected, but that's starting to naturally bring in a little bit more of that transverse abdominis area. Good. Let's take one more in each direction. Good. And then from here, we're going to take a breath in, stretching up to the ceiling. Keep yourself steady on the ball. Exhale, pressing away. And again, inhale, reach. Exhale, pressing away. If you want to challenge that balance a little bit more, lift the heels as you rise up with the arms and down. So again, as I'm moving, I'm thinking about where the pelvis is relative to the ball, where my rib cage is stacked on top. One more. Good. And releasing down. Hands onto the hips. So just take some pelvic tilt. So I'm tucking under and then lifting back. So whereas we would do normally when moving through the pelvis, here I'm using the ball to pull under. That's my exhale. We're going to zip up from tailbone to pubic bone. Inhale, coming back the other way. And just using the legs just to help to pull that motion. And if you're feeling a little stiff, try not to kind of force that way forward. Just work within that range so that the pelvis feels comfortable. Good. We're going to add some arms into this time. So as I come up, I'm reaching the arms back. Then exhale, I'm going to round, drawing into the arms. Inhale, open the chest. Exhale, curling back. Good. Keep going. Inhale, open. Exhale, a little bit of zip up and a little bit of bump to spine. Good. And again. And release. Last one. Good. And then from here we can start to circle round through the hips. A little bit noisy, but we get a bit more motion. This is like our cauldron stir that we do on the floor. And then changing direction, so I'm just letting that pelvis roll. My upper body's staying fairly still, but I'm feeling this stirring motion in the hips. It's just mobilizing all the way through that lower back. Good. And then bringing it back to center. I'm a little wider with the feet now. I'm just going to stretch out through the left leg. This right knee's pushing open like I'm in warrior pose. And then I'm bringing the right forearm to the thigh. Try not to sink too heavy, so feel like you're lifting, and then just take a nice big stretch all the way over. I'm breathing into all of this left side. Lifting out of that right shoulder. And then exhale, reach the fingers further. Again, inhale, lift. Breathe into that space. Exhale this time, drawing back up. Transition the other way, switching the legs, pressing this knee back, left forearm down. Inhale, big stretch. Lifting out of that shoulder. Exhale, reach further. Just enjoy that stretch through that pelvic floor. Inhale. Exhale, drawing back up. Good. Leaving the feet a little wider. If you want to bring them in for a bit more support, you can. Stretch the arms up. And then we're going to take it forwards. A little bit of bump to spine. And then from here, I take a breath in. Then exhale, I rebuild from the tailbone, one vertebrae at a time, with that gentle hug of baby to spine. And again, inhale, reaching up. Exhale, folding forwards. Inhale, then exhale, roll and rebuild. Good. Bring the hands into either the small of the back or into the ball, and just take a lift and open up through the chest. Dropping down, opening up through the collarbones. Good. And then releasing back down. Just take a moment to find your center position again. Find the sit bone coming through the ball. Just take a moment to reset yourself. Good. So now I've got that length back up in the spine. We're going to take a little bit of balance work on the ball. So again, what's really nice is that feedback that you get from underneath you. So visualize those weighing scales underneath your sit bones. And all we're going to do is just start to alternate a heel lift. So as I said before, with that double lift, I don't want you to feel like you're collapsing or pressing into the ball. Good. Let's see if we can bring in an opposite arm. Opposite arm to opposite heel march. Just nice and steady with that inhale and exhale. Good. Inhale and exhale. And that might feel quite different from one side to the other. It's quite a small movement. But particularly if you have any pelvic girdle pain or lower back pain, or maybe baby tends to sit one side heavier than the other, this can start to throw these imbalances through. Good. From here now, just hover the left heel up for me. Zip up from the pelvic floor, and then exhale. Feel that activation as we deepen and draw the navel to spine, and see if you can hover. And the idea again is that I'm not shifting or collapsing into the ball, so it might be a little wobble. If you don't feel comfortable there, just leave the tiptoes down. And then let's take that on the other side. Inhale, I'm going to lift. I'm zipping up. Exhale, belly to spine. Good, and hover. Don't be too aggressive with this abdominal contraction. Good, and just keep switching sides in your own time. If you feel comfortable with that balance and you're keeping things steady, you might bring in an opposite arm. You might even try and extend that leg away. But if you feel a little unstable on that ball, then just stick with the heel lifts with both feet on dry land. And again, this might feel quite different when you repeat this at different stages in the pregnancy, as to what feels comfortable and what doesn't. Good. You might find you can even take some gentle circles either with the arm or the leg or both, and really feel those deeper, subtle pelvic floor stabilizing muscles that activate to keep you steady on the ball. Good. And let's see if we can take that on the other side. If you just want to take that lower level, lift the heel and just try circling through the arms. Okay, so whatever you feel comfortable with. You could draw a picture, you could write your name. Good. And then release it down. Well done. Just have a little rock side to side, easing out. Well done. Change that into your circles again. And then switching direction now. See if you can turn this circle into a bit more of a figure of 8 with the ball. So it's a little bit more wobbly, but see if you can just start to roll that spine or in a figure of 8 with the ball. Changing direction. Mobilizing out through that spine. Good. Feet a little wider. And this time we're taking a side bend over. So I'm lunging through the legs and taking the ball with me, a little bit like that previous stretch, but now I'm moving a little bit more. So if you're not happy with this one, go back to the static version, but we're really opening up here. So it's like our reverse warrior. So all of these movements are fairly similar to the standing yoga poses. So sometimes if you're not feeling like you want as active a practice, the ball's a good place just to bring yourself down, feel that nice opening through the body without that deeper work. Good, last one here. And then releasing back down. Good, just walk the feet back in for me. From here, let's just bring the hands to the shoulders, circling out. Again, if you want to challenge the balance, either lift one or both heels, and then change direction. Good. Let's take that into a little bit of front crawl. So now we've got that upper body moving. Can we keep the lower body nice and steady on the ball? And then change it into some backstroke. Good. And then releasing through, lower the heels, big stretch up. Now we're going to cherry pick. So now I want you to think about pushing the hip down into the ball. So it's a reach rather than that side bend. So as I reach the left hand up, my left hip is sinking into the ball. Nice big stretch. One way and then the other. Good. And then from there, just circle it down. Well done. Okay, so now we're just going to take things up a little bit and we're going to work a little differently on the pelvic floor. So if you remember with our pelvic floor, we've got two types of fibres. We've got slow twitch and fast twitch. We want to be working the fast twitch fibres that help us with our control when we're sneezing or coughing, or when we're a little bit more high impact with our exercise from a postnatal. So the ball's a nice place to practice this. So I've got my feet a little bit wider than hip width. I'm keeping a gentle drawing up of that diamond in that pelvic floor. So I'm feeling north, south, east and west connecting rather than just my zip. A gentle little bit of bump to spine. And let's start to bounce. So here, obviously, depending on your stages in pregnancy, if bump's quite big, you're in that last trimester, this might feel quite heavy as that bounce. So now the pelvic floor is having to naturally fight against this pressure that the bump is creating in the pelvis, and then have a little breathe and just slowly bring yourself to a stop. So you've got an idea of how that feels. If you're getting any pelvic girdle pain, then maybe this one isn't for you and you can just work on your circles. But I want you to keep a nice steady in and out, a little bit shorter, so we're not just, but it's not that long inhale and exhale. And just see if you can keep that pull upwards. Off we go. In and out. In and out. So it's almost feeling like these little pulses upwards into the pelvic floor as it works against this impact. Really nice way of reintroducing this force if you're wanting to return back to things like running or other high intensity sports postnatally. And then release. Good. So you just do it in short rounds, because otherwise the pelvic floor can get quite tired quite quickly. So just feel free to have a little release between those sets. We're going to take that again a couple more times. It's up to you. If you're feeling quite strong and you want to get a good bounce in here, get the legs working, as long as that doesn't feel like it's a downward pressure through the pelvis and you can control that pelvic floor, keep a steady breath, or like me, I'm able to talk through this, and then whenever you're ready, just release it out. Good. We're going to take one more round. This one's not always recommended when you've got a full bladder, as you can imagine. So either stay with your circles if you're comfortable here, if you want to follow me with one last round. Good. Nice steady breathing. Keep that hold in that pelvic floor. It's a good workout for the legs. Really try and control that return back. This elastic motion that happens in the pelvic floor, a little bit like a vocal cord. Good, and then release, well done. And then just circling through, perfect. So from here, we're just going to bring ourselves up into standing, and then just take a little bit of a stretch out through that pelvic floor. Take the feet almost the width of the mat, bend the knees, and then stretch out. And then from here, it's quite nice just to rock the ball side to side, moving through the hips, just letting that space between the sit bones widen, as we release into that pelvic floor. So they're quite strong, so we just want to give everything a little bit of a chance to recover. Good. Then from there, bending the knees, rolling that ball back up to bring myself up into standing. From here, I'm staying in this wider squat position. We don't need to be massively wide, particularly those in third trimester. Just keep your stance a little shallower. And then from here, I'm going to take a lunge and reach across. I've got my opposite arm to opposite leg. So my right arm is reaching as I lunge to the left and back. So if you, without the ball, you can see what I'm doing with my legs is this. And then I'm just adding that nice stretch through the lower back, through the shoulder blade. Inhale, reach, exhale, return. Good. Try and keep the body fairly upright so that that work is coming around the hips and through the shoulder blade. Good. One more through each side. Inhale, reach, exhale, back. Perfect. From there, just soften the knees, toe, heel, the feet back in. Well done. We're going to work against the wall now, and the Swiss ball is again a good way of adding some challenge into pelvic stability. So I'm going to work now with the ball behind me, and it's just about in my lower back. As far as stance, my feet are a little bit wider than hip width, and then maybe half a metre to 3/4 of a metre away from the wall. It depends on the size of your ball. So now what I want you to think about is that heavy weight through your tailbone. I just want you to sink down and up. Inhale on the way down, exhale on the way back up. So keep going with that. I'm just going to show you from this angle. So I'm not following the ball under, I'm feeling the weight travelling straight down and back up. If you're in your squat and your knees are here, you need to just step a little further away. We can add some arms. Inhale up, exhale down. And I just want you to think about your pelvic floor a little bit more now here as well. So even on the inhale, just feel that little bit of connection between your east and west, so your sit bones. And then exhale, pull north, south, east and west together, or that lift up through the middle of that diamond. Good. Let's just have two more here. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Good. And then just step yourself a little taller, bring the ball around your bra strap territory, a bit of softness in the knees, and just reach the arms up. From here, I'm just going to take a rib cage glide. So my hips are staying steady, and I'm almost rocking the ball from right to left shoulder blade, and that's giving me a really nice mobilization through that mid back. And just reach and glide. So again, particularly when you feel maybe sitting quite high in the ribs, and that breathing's becoming a little bit more challenging, this is just a nice way of finding more space through the ribs. Good. And then release. We're keeping the ball about here. Again, if you want a slightly narrower stance, that's fine. And we're going to take a similar scissors exercise as what we did in sitting. So now I'm just leaning into the ball ever so slightly. I'm finding that neutral position in the pelvis. And then from here, let's take an opposite arm, opposite leg. Inhale, exhale. And I've just got that gentle activation through the pelvic floor, nothing too strong. But I'm almost leaning into the ball, so if you take that wall away from me, I'll probably fall into the wall. So I want you to feel like there's a little bit of pressure there that we're working into. But what I've not done is squash my lower back into the ball. Good. Perfect. And then from here, just step your left foot back and your right foot slightly further forward. So I'm in a split stance. From here, we're going to take a bit more of a single leg squat. So what I've done is I've brought the workload a bit more into my left hip because that leg is closer. But because I've got the right foot engaged, I'm keeping that weight nice and even through the pelvis. I'm not putting too much stress through that sacroiliac area, but you should feel like your left leg is getting a good workout. Good. If you feel like you can, just bring the heel up on that right side. But what we're looking from this angle is, I don't want any of this or any of this. So I want this nice, smooth alignment through the body. Hold it down, and let's just pulse. Breathing in and out. Good. And again, in and out, and release. Well done. Let's switch and take that on the other side. Obviously, the longer your stance is, the more weight goes into one side. The shorter you are, the easier that is. So again, up and down, think about keeping the hips level. The kneecap is tracking over the second and third toe, but we're introducing this change in weight distribution through the pelvis as that ever-changing centre of mass is with your baby. Inhale, exhale. Good. 3 more. And 2. Hold it down on this next one and pulse. Good. Breathing in, steady, and out. Good. And again, in and out. Last one, in and out, and release. Well done. Good. Let the ball come down. Pop that to one side, and then from here, hands onto the wall, just step the hips back, little sway again, we're in that supported standing child pose position. Perfect. And then stepping a foot in and bringing that up. We're going to stay working at the wall a little bit longer now. You don't need your ball. We're just going to work into the shoulders a little bit. So again, make sure that you are stable if you're on your mat, if you're on a slippy surface. And again, I've come a little bit wider than hip width, stepping back a similar distance as I was with my ball. And my hands are in line with my shoulders, if anything slightly lower. Little bit of giving the knees and just soften the tailbone under. So this one you might want to come up onto the toes. We're going to take an inhale and we're going to take a push up towards the wall. Exhale and pushing away. So what I'm looking for is I'm drawing my shoulder blades down. I'm not up round here or my elbows aren't out here. But more importantly, I don't look like this. So I'm bringing bump with me. So if you want to make that easier, step closer to the wall so your press up is a little shallower. Keep going. Inhale as I come towards the wall. Exhale as I push away. And I want you to feel like you're almost turning your right arm clockwise, left arm anti-clockwise, so that as you take that push up, you feel the work in the shoulder blades. Let's just take 3 more. Inhale towards the wall, exhale pushing away, and then last one. Perfect. And release again from there if you want to step it back into that child pose, and you can take some little pulses with the feet. Good. A little bit longer. I'm just moving so I'm not just wiggling my bottom at the screen at you. Good. Well done. Stepping into the wall and coming through. We're going to come down onto the mat now with the ball. So if you want to work your way down, if you need anything underneath your knees, just pop that underneath you now. And we're going to work in 4-point kneeling. So the advantage of being on the ball is it's a little bit more unstable, so that naturally works the pelvic floor a little bit harder. If you're not comfortable again on the ball, then just repeat any of the exercises on your mat. So my knees are hip width. I'm in a triangle base of support on the ball with my elbows underneath the shoulders, so I'm not way out here. But you can see I'm leaning forward, so my centre of mass is actually kind of here versus back here. So I want the hips over the knees. Then what you've got to think about is bump. So I want that little bit of lift, turn under of the tailbone. Good. The neckline is nice and long, and we're going to work our Serratus Press from here. So all I'm doing is moving towards the ball and away. So it's like that push-up that we've just done, but this time the shoulder blades glide together and they move away from one another. Inhale, exhale. I'm not collapsing, so I'm just working like this. Yeah? Drawing in and out. And as you come towards the ball, feel your shoulder blades glide down the body versus up to the neck and push away. So you should be feeling this between the shoulder blades. Good. Inhale, exhale. And all the time, I've got my bump gently drawing into spine, and I'm zipped up from tailbone to pubic bone. Good. Last one. And then from there, knees a little bit wider. And then here we can use a rolling child pose, sorry. So again, if you don't want to work with your ball, take it away and just stretch out on the floor. But here my knees are nice and wide and I've got plenty of room to rock. Another position that's quite comfortable, and again, this is a useful one to think about during labour, is a gentle hug of the ball. So if you want to come up into this position, and you can just gently draw some circles. So it's nice and soothing on the lower back. But again, using this wide kneeling position, just change direction. We're nice and open in that birth canal and that space between the sit bones. Good. So coming back into your heels, so bearing that in mind, let's add a little bit of pelvic floor work. So now I'm just holding and hugging into the ball. As I'm sat back now, that space between my sit bones is wide. Exhale, let's draw it forwards and back. Good. Exhale, zip. Inhale, pulling back. If you'd rather, come up onto your forearms, makes it a little bit stronger, but just gives a bit more room for bump. Exhale, zip, bump to spine. Inhale as you come back and let that pelvic floor release. So just think about what we did at the start. 3 more. And 2. Good. And 1. And again from there, sink back into child pose. Good, okay. So from here, we're going to come into a little bit more work through the hips. I'm going to use the ball against the wall. You don't have to do this, you could just work against the wall. So I'll show you and then you can get yourselves in position and give it a little try. So we're going to come into side lying. So any blocks that you might need for your head or underneath your bump, grab those. And remember, we come down on our side first of all and then in place. So I'm going to be working with the ball-like stretch behind me here. So if you don't want to work with the ball or you don't have the space, you can just do this with your heel against the wall. So I'm drawing the bottom knee in. I'm creating that space in the waist, so I've gently drawn that navel into spine. And I'm working with that leg so that the foot is level with the hips. I'm already working to hold this line. I'm going to take a breath in. As I breathe out, I'm going to push my heel backwards into the ball, nice and strong. You should feel your bum cheek engage, and then inhale, you can release. And if you want to, let the ball roll in and just let that knee fully relax. If you want to keep working all the way through, leave that knee out. Extend the leg out, press backwards into the wall. Inhale, hold, I'm still connected. Exhale, coming in, either keeping that knee level, so we're working all the time, or a gentle flop. And again, exhale, push away, and then press backwards into the wall. Inhale, coming back. So it's side kick and hip extension thrown into 1. And the stronger you push back with that heel into the wall, the more that bottom engages. Really good workout for strengthening those glutes, which sometimes can be a challenging one to get a good activation in pregnancy with some of the exercises that we would normally do. But what's really important to remember is the stronger those glutes are, the more stability they offer to the lower back and the pelvic floor muscles. Last one. And then exhale, press. Let's hold it here this time as we breathe in. I'm still zipped up and connected. Exhale, I'm still pushing. Inhale, I'm still pushing. Exhale, and then I come back in and release. Just let that knee stack on top. Draw your knees in towards your bump. The balls go away all often. Just give the hip a little round of applause. Well done. From here, I'm releasing the hands out in front. I'm going to stretch forwards with the hand and then take a nice big inhale as I reach back. And I'm coming up on the diagonal slightly versus down here. And then exhale again, I'll retrace as steep as I can. If you need a little bit of something between the knees, just pop that in now. And just enjoy that nice opening through the chest. And through. If that's too strong a stretch through the bump, just take the feet back a little bit. So that allows those hips to follow you back a bit more versus that steeper line. And really spread through those fingers. Good. Mobilize, follow with the head and chest. If you want to, you can take that into a sweeping circle round and just mobilizing even further. Inhale as I reach and sweep. Exhale, coming round. Last one. And releasing through. Good. From here, we're going to turn under first of all. So a little bit of that navel to spine as I come through. Onto all fours. And then let's just take some gentle cat stretches. Inhale. Gentle stretch through the bump. Feeling that heart center traveling forwards versus just a dump. Then exhale. Draw that navel to spine. Bump draws in. Rounding up. Inhale, heart lifts. Exhale, rounding under. Good. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Take the hands a little further forward And let's just roll round, sweeping through, easing out the spine. Little side bend, figure of 8, whatever you feel you need, changing direction. Just easing out before we take that set on the other side. Good. Last one. Perfect. So from here we're going to set up on the other side now. So switching round. Head blocks and pillows that you need. If you're working with your ball, switch it to the other end, other side, otherwise just that foot against the wall. Head onto the block, bending the bottom knee in for support, then I extend that leg out on the ball so that the foot is level with the hip. That gives me a chance just to bring those hips forward, gentle scoop under of the tailbone, and then when I'm ready I exhale, I press backwards into the wall, into the ball with that heel, feeling that hip engage, and then inhale, drawing in, either staying active with the knee parallel to the hip or a little pause if you need to. Exhale and press. If you think this is like our single leg squat that we were doing on the wall, it's just then that this is slightly more deloaded. I'm working into the side of the hip and the back of the hip, so we're still building that strength through the hip and pelvis to support that offset of weight and moving through. Good. Exhale, send it away, dig the heel backwards, watch the body doesn't follow. Inhale, release, 2 more. Good. If it's a little strong, just don't push back and just roll in and out. And then we're going to hold that press backwards this time as we breathe in, keep pushing, breathe out and zipped up, connected. Last inhale. Exhale, draw it in, let the ball go, stack the knees, round of applause, good. Then either join the knees in towards the bump or for a softer stretch, releasing the knees and then stretch it forward, spread those fingers wide, follow that hand with the chest and head. Inhale, exhale, drawing that rainbow back on the sky, good. Inhale. Exhale, coming back. Good, just nice steady flow, adjusting the knees if you need to. Moving at your own pace. Pausing if you want to for a little longer in that stretch, or alternatively now start to add that circle round. Inhale as I sweep. Exhale, coming round. Good. One more. And then releasing down. Good. Again from here I'm coming under into 4-point kneeling, but this time feet bring the knees a little bit closer together, hands a bit wider, and then I'm taking that hip drop from one side to the other. So my upper body stays fairly still, and I'm just gently dropping the hips to the side so that I feel like I've got that stretch where we've just been working. One way and then the other. Good. Coming back to center, set the knees hip width apart, hand shoulder width. Let's unlock the elbows and lift through the breastbone. Gently draw that bump to spine. We're going to extend the left leg out. So now flex the foot like we've just imagined that the ball's there. Push upwards as if you're pushing into the wall behind you like we've just done. Drawing bump to spine, and if you can, extend that right arm away. Stay active through that left shoulder. So we're replicating what we've just done on the hip, but now we've unloaded that balance into one side. Hold, reach even further through the heel and through the middle finger. Keep that breath steady. Feel each time you exhale that you just gently join bump a little closer to the spine. And then fold that back in as slow as you can, releasing through that knee. Little rock. Just ease it out, and then let's take that on the other side. Extending the right leg back. Tuck the toes under. Squeeze and lift the bottom. Lift the bump. Lift the breastbone. And then if you feel ready, extend that left arm out. Check you've not swayed, so pull up and into the body. Lengthen the heel away and the middle finger. Check you've not locked that right elbow. Breathing steady again, drawing in a little stronger with that exhale each time. Last round of breath here. Inhale. Exhale. Release, steady, bring that knee in. And then take the knees a little wider. Sink it back. You can relax the forehead to the floor or to your blocks, or maybe even stack up the fists from here, or if you prefer, stay a little higher. And just releasing that pelvic floor wherever you are. If you just want to take some gentle rocks back and forth, just opening up into that pelvic floor. So we're not zipping up this time, but I'm just using that inhale as I sink back to release. Good. One more. And then I'm bringing the hands back up. Grabbing your ball. We're just going to take a little bit more of a stretch and work into the side of the body now. So I'm bringing the ball towards my right side. If you've got any headlocks, just push those out of the way. I'm going to bring the waist into the ball, so I'm almost kind of lifting up and then setting the side of the hip and the elbow out. If you're not happy here, then feel free just to take it inside lying. So again, I'm not sunk, I'm lifting out of the shoulder and I'm long and zipped up. This hand can come for support if we like. And then all I want is a slide forwards, pointing the toes and back. So same as we've just done, we're still working with the hip, but I'm lifting through the shoulder. Good. Connecting that bump to spine. Perfect. Last couple here, so short and sweet, because we've worked the hips quite hard tonight. Good. And then from there, draw that knee back in. Reach away. Stretching over. And then pulling back. And again, inhale. So this is our kneeling mermaid. Exhale, coming back. And really enjoy that stretch through the side of the waist and the ribs. Exhale, coming back. Good. One more. Let's hold it there a little longer. Options to stay here or gently bring that hand round towards the ball. You can bring the ball a little further forwards if you like. So now I've got that stretch through that lower left side of the back, so it's like a twisted child pose. Good, and then slowly drawing back into the body. And let's sweep the ball round and take that on the other side. So again, from here, draw that ball in, lift up and out. If you'd rather not work with this leg out from here, then just stay in that high kneeling position, lifting out of that shoulder, and then again sweeping. And you might find that this feels quite different in support. I don't feel like I need the ball as much this way round as I did the other way. So again, it's looking at how much strength we've got through the side of the body. That's again offering that support through the pelvis, but more so when we're carrying babies postnatally. Inhale, sweep. Exhale, back. Last one. And back. And then slowly fold that knee back in, drawing the body up. Let's stretch the side of the body now. Roll the ball away. Try and keep the outside of the hips level, not swaying out and lifting out of the ribs and back. And again, inhale, stretch away, open up the ribs. Exhale, pulling back. Good, keep going. Again, the pelvic floor is just relaxed. We're just releasing the body. Two more. On this next one, if you want to add that little twist, from there, reach round, maybe bring the ball a little further forwards, sitting back into the hips slightly, relax the shoulders, opening up that lower back, and then releasing through. Just bring your ball in front of you. I'm just spinning so you can see where I'm at. And then we're going to finish with some cat stretches from here, so a little bit more active. So my hips are going to stay over my knees for the most part of this. I'm going to sweep forwards as if I was doing the wall child pose. So that's my happy cat or my cat-cow, then exhale, draw the navel to spine, pull the ball back in towards you, and then you can just take a little opening up the other way. Same again, chin to chest, sweep it forwards. Your weight centre of mass is staying around your bump rather than into the arms, then exhale, roll and articulate. Coming up. If not, hands on the floor and take a normal cat stretch. What I'm not doing is following it. Yeah, so in theory from here I should be able to lift away from the ball, so I'm not pressing into those shoulders too much. And I'm just kind of rolling through one way and then the other. Good. And then slowly coming up. Perfect. And then we're going to take one last stretch using the ball. This is our Camel Pose, which is a yoga-based stretch. Really nice for opening up the thighs and into the lower abdominal area and the hips. And again, it's a Mermaid one, so it's up to you. I'm going to demo this, but if you don't want to use it, then that's fine. So I'm going to work with the ball against the wall behind me, and then I'm coming in and reversing and just dropping my bottom onto the ball. From there, I can sink back with the forearms, or some of you might feel like you can release all the way back. What you don't want is this compression through the lower back. So if you're quite tight in the hips and I've straddled the ball, that might be enough. And I'm just feeling like my headlights on the hips are pushing forwards and taking that weight. If that's not for you, you can just place the hands into the small of the back and open up that way. This is what we're looking at, that's the stretch, just that I'm not dumping into the lower back. You can work a bit more into the legs and just tuck the toes under. Try and feel like the chest is opening. And again, or if you wanted to, you could pop some cushions underneath the knees. And if this isn't for you, say then just pause in child pose. Couple more breaths here, just really feeling like those thighs are opening up. It's quite a difficult area to stretch in pregnancy, but an area that often gets tight. And then coming back up, reaching round, and then from here, let's bring it up nice and steady into standing, and then just take a moment to bring yourself back round into sitting in the same way we did at the start of class. Taking a moment just to find that centre point through the pelvis. Stacking the ribs, the spine, the head. And then just into those spinal twists, the same as we did at the start. Reaching over, trying not to flare through the ribs. And just extending those fingers a little further each time over the thigh. Good. Reaching the right hand forwards, bring the left hand to the back of the ball and just take a slightly deeper stretch round to the left. I'm using this hand just to push into the knee a little bit. Inhale, lifting tall. Exhale, softening down through that pelvis. Letting the rib cage fully release. And then slowly unwinding back to centre. Going the other way now, reaching the left arm forwards, right hand to the back of the ball. Inhale, growing taller through the spine. Exhale, softening round, further into that stretch. Slowly coming back to centre. And then just roll those shoulders through. Good. Reach the right arm down the side of the ball. Reaching the fingertips a little bit further, left ear to left shoulder. Just enjoy that nice stretch through the right side of the neck. If you want to deepen that, just use that hand to pull across a little bit further. Then on that next exhale, I just want you to turn the head to look down towards that left armpit. So I'm dropping the chin towards the chest slightly. I've moved that stretch down the back of that right shoulder now and into the top of the shoulder blade. Softening that right hand a little further. And then take an inhale as you exhale, slowly release. Roll those shoulders through. And then let's take the same through that left side. Reach that left arm down, right ear to right shoulder. Good. Then you can take that a bit further by pulling that right hand across. Exhale, softening that left hand a little further. And then on that next exhale, just dropping the chin towards the right armpit. Feeling that stretch down the left side of the neck, keeping that left arm heavy. And then slowly unravel, bring it back to center, roll those shoulders through. Good. And then just pause for a moment. Feel free just to close the eyes or drop the eye line down as you just find that center point again. The lasers off the sit bones are through the ball, the ribs are just softly stacked on top. And let's just take 5 full inhales and exhales, just feeling you're drawing energy up from the floor, through the ball, up the spine. And as you exhale, just feel the feet, the ankles and the calves soften and melt into the floor. On that next inhale, again, drawing energy up through the body. As you exhale, feel the thighs, the buttocks and the pelvis release. Next inhale, again, feel that spine lift and open. And as you exhale, almost feel this unstacking, release through the spine. Inhale. Exhale, let the arms hang heavy, any tension just rippling out through the fingertips. That last inhale, feel that energy draw all the way up to the tip of the scalp. Filling you with positivity, confidence and joy. And exhale, just allow that stillness to settle in the body. The ball is just absorbing you heavily further into the floor. Just thanking baby for joining you with today's practice. When you're ready, opening the eyes, bringing yourself back to center. Thank you.